Hey, I love it. I always love that intro.
It
Gosh, I
warms
love
my
it.
heart.
It does. It does. It makes me feel so good. And I'm so glad no one has taken it down yet. Because it's not my music. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows who it is. Okay. So, good news. Welcome back. Or if this is the first time you're seeing us, welcome to Tactical Business Coaching with my awesome co host, Jess, AKA Shark Girl. She's a powerhouse in marketing, brand strategy, and all things Sharkapalooza. She's the founder of Sharkapalooza. It's an annual event that happens in Florida celebrating shark conservation. You want to go into that just a little bit, Jess, about this? I want to know where you're at with this.
Yeah. So it is a nonprofit festival that's all about bringing together art, conservation, education, and community. And so, as a nonprofit doing a festival for art and community, we actually use that to raise money for our conservation benefactor partner, which is OSearch. We just announced that this
That's
past
huge.
week, yesterday. Every time I say it, I get goosebumps. Every single time. Still, I just it's literally for me, 18 years of work in the making to have this type of partnership and to have Sharkapalooza getting to the size that it's getting. So it's very, very exciting. So thank you for asking about it.
Yes, I'm so glad to see you again. We haven't seen each other for about a week. Something like that. Yeah.
Feels like forever.
Since season 1. No. Well, season 2 opens right now. Okay. And I wanted to start with the truth that most business owners avoid. Okay. It's you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Okay. Every day, I meet people who are just drowning in their own success. They're overwhelmed, they're exhausted, or they're reactive. And it's not because they're incapable. It's not that. It's because they're operating on outdated identity or habits or strategy. They're fighting fires with the same mindset that created them. Now, Jess and I are going straight into the pressure that you carry, the decisions that you've been avoiding, and the leadership gaps you've been patching with all that hustle instead of clarity. So let's get tactical. And today we're kicking off our special season 2 with a guest who embodies what real leadership looks like when pressure is high and the mission really matters. This is Haley Anthony. Welcome, Haley. She's a director at Leidos. She's a senior leader at NASA, CEO of Rise Executive Coaching, and she's recognized as one of Colorado's top women in business. And on top of all that, Haley serves on the board of the Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo, where she leads the mental health committee, which means she's not just talking about mental health and leadership. She's shaping the systems that support it. So thank you for coming, Haley, to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And welcome.
Thank you. As a caveat, everything that I say today is of Haley Anthony and not representative of Leidos or NASA. But yeah, I love my career, and I'm very, very passionate about mental health in our community, especially here in Colorado Springs. We have 5 military bases here, and in our community as a whole, it tends to be a challenge among a lot of people.
So I wanted, how do you get anything done? Like I went over your bio and I was like, oh my gosh, how is she doing anything? How do you get anything accomplished in life?
It's beautiful question. Well, I do get 7 hours of sleep a night, which is normal for me. So a lot of people ask, do you sleep?
And it's super important. Very
important. Very important. And we'll talk about, I know that part of today is going to be talking about perimenopause and how it's affecting women and entrepreneurs in leadership. And I hit that speed bump a few months ago. So I wasn't at my best, but I'm doing dramatically better now. And how I do it is really time management. And that's honestly why a lot of people hire me, is they see my bio and they're just like, teach me your ways. How are you doing this? And like you said in the beginning, you said it's all about your systems and structure. And as I've grown, I've learned to delegate and become dependent on the people who work for me and who are leading the teams beneath me, so that I can continue to spread and support and do what I need to do among the masses. So it's been a lot of fun and a big journey, but I still have my challenges. Please don't look at my bio and think I'm perfect, because I'm happy to talk about my speed bumps as a leader.
Let's talk about all those speed bumps, because it really does take like an experienced captain, right?
Yeah.
Has to go through all that stuff, and especially not just we're going to go over this in one of our episodes as well, but just because you've been through the fire doesn't mean that you're a badass fireman. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People are doing it wrong for 10 to 20 years. They've been just doing it wrong. But I have a feeling you've been successful in your life because you've been through it, and also you've learned. Being through it, learning through it, and applying what you've learned and perfecting it. That's another thing. That takes something special. And I think you're probably one of those types of people. So thanks again. I appreciate it. We both appreciate you coming on here as a guest to just kind of lighting up our season 2 of the Tactical Business Coaching. And this year, All right, relax. It's not that that thing. Okay, it's not the whole year. We just came out with season 1, maybe like what, 3 months ago? Was it, Jess?
Yeah, we wrapped it up before the end of the year. Yeah,
and we're like, you know what, this feels good. It feels good. I like Jessica. I like where her head's at. I like her experience and her professionalism, and she's a great person to do this with. So I'm just really thankful to have her as a part of my tribe, and she's been a really great individual too to have as a friend. I call her a friend as well. So thank you, Jess. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course. I feel the same way. And I think the other reason that we decided to do this again was that we got great feedback from people that we are authentically ourselves, which we talk a lot about in a lot of the episodes, but that it's real talk, which I kind of hate that phrase, but we don't sugarcoat it. We have honest conversations. And when you had reached out to Rex, him and I thought this was a great idea to talk about mental health, because it's something that often entrepreneurs or business owners, leaders will talk about successes, but we don't often talk about struggles and how do you overcome them, because it's not necessarily what you go through, it's how you handle it and come out the other side and learn from it. So we're very excited about this.
Yeah, we are. I love talking about these types of issues because they're real. They're real issues. These are real things, real experience, real things that we've all have been through. And today we're going over, I think it's, like I said earlier, it's one of these taboo type things that we were kind of, at least in our culture, in our demographic, we were kind of asked, or not really asked. It's kind of one of those unspoken rules that we don't talk about it, right? We don't say anything about it. It showed something about you, and that was false. It was like a false narrative for us to share things like this. But we're going over why business owners hide their mental health struggles and the mental load of entrepreneurship. It's a tough thing, right? We're all entrepreneurs here, right? I mean, do you have any struggles? Not to go into them yet, but like, do you feel that pressure?
I used to, and the reason why I say I used to is I think as leaders, we think suppression is healing. We think that if we suppress the bad stuff that we're okay, and we just put on that front, and we confuse composure with success. And I think one of my number one values is authenticity. Mm-hmm. And I learned this in the past year, was how I show up as a human is what invites people to want to work for me, want to be around me. It's my light, so to speak. And part of being authentic is being able to not only get into the mud with your teams and your people, but share your own mud of what you've been through in order to inspire others.
Yeah, there is something that to be said and shared about. It is a relief. I don't know if people understand this. It is a relief to be authentic. Like
yes.
Right? Am I right?
It shuts all the right doors, and the people that don't want to be around you, it's an immediate thing. I used to be a horrible people pleaser, and we can talk about that for days. But when you realize that, if you show up as who you are and you're kind, you're not, coming in, kicking in doors, the right people find you and the wrong people leave. And it's such a beautiful gift. And when you realize it's a gift, and it actually accelerates you in your business.
I love the phrase that you said, showing up as a human, because that means that you're showing up in all of the aspects of what make you you. And I think often people show up in different versions of themselves, like the family version, the business owner one, the serious one, the professional one. But if you are just you do exude that specific light that attracts people. And I think it's important to be comfortably you in all of those, because you're all one thing. You're not different dimensions.
Exactly.
And people try to slice it up.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, in the past, that was a thing. You leave your personal problems at the door. And unfortunately, that's not how we work. I guess high performers are really often excellent at functioning while internally dysregulated. And it's because they're out of sync with who they really are, their authenticity. And so what I learned, I'll give you an example. I'm heading out to Huntsville on Sunday. 25 years of, work and operations, I had my first employee pass away. And I'm going to go out there. I'm going to run his memorial. We're going to put this together for the team because that's what they need. And we're bringing his husband in. And it's just, when I called to tell the team what had happened, because he just didn't show up to work, I cried on the call. And I said, guys, and I paused. I said, guys, this is the first time in 25 years I've ever lost an employee. You're going to get to see me real and raw today. And I'm not sorry for that. And part of that is tears. And I want you guys to feel your feelings through this, because it's going to be a rough day today. And I'm really sorry. And I got a lot of appreciation after. I felt so, what's the word? Vulnerable in that moment. But I think with vulnerability, and Brene Brown talks about this all the time. I love her. But with vulnerability, it invites authenticity. So I love my job. I cannot say enough great things at NASA. I have an amazing leader, an amazing team that invites authenticity. And that's definitely why I probably still work there and they put up with me.
Yeah. Just to add, it's just something that it's relieving when you can be yourself, when you can just be who you are at home, at work, like in your business. Like, and then it's also good. Me and Jess talk about this a lot. It's also good to be yourself, to be authentic as a brand, and as to market that. It's easier to market authenticity than to be kind of fake, or to it's okay to be trendy, to use, but as long as you're saying the same message, you're sending the same message about who you are, about what you are, what you believe in, your values, those types of things. It's easier on you, and that relieves some of the stress that comes. So did you know, I want to share something real quick. Did you know this? According to some recent surveys, nearly 40% of business owners admit they hide their mental health struggles just to look confident.
Yep.
And almost 90% of entrepreneurs report dealing with at least one mental health issue.
Yep. I would say it's higher than that, to be very direct.
Because people probably aren't. Yeah.
Well, executives hire me all the time with Rise Executive Coaching. And I'm going to tell you, because my process is inside out. We're going to get inside you. I want to know your values. I want to know your life purpose. I want to know which really drives kind of your ambition. And when we get wildly real about that, that's honestly what makes up a piece of our authenticity and who we are. But as we're pulling a lot of that out, a lot of the other stuff starts to bubble up. And we start getting into, and there's a difference between what's coachable and what needs to be with a therapist. But there's a lot of trauma that comes up. And being trauma informed and trauma aware, I'm able to refer to therapists accordingly. And in the state of Colorado, we have laws around that, right? We part of my contract is really differentiating between psychotherapy and coaching. And different states have different laws. But no, you're absolutely correct. And I would argue that it's more than that. I think some people are self-reporting just to hold back out of fear of, reputational damage or whatnot, or investor perception. But I mean, you think anxiety, and that's a big one, is dealing with anxiety among leaders that I'm coaching. There's this anxiety and narratives that they tell themselves that aren't accurate. It's based on feelings instead of facts. And so learning to differentiate between the feelings and the facts and learning to really ground ourselves really gets them to go a lot further. Just asking, hey, what you're telling yourself right now, is that a feeling or a fact? And it stops the whole conversation in its tracks. So yeah.
Yes, prove it or lose it.
That's right. That's right.
Huge thing. I got shirts too, in case you want. I got patches too. I love it, man, because that is a trap. It is a trap.
It is.
And this is not a small problem. This is the culture of entrepreneurship. And like, what are we thinking? First of all, I want to hear from everybody. What do you think is like going on? Like, if you have a couple of ideas, that's fine. I've got a few. I think one of them is an identity. It's an identity problem.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's an identity trap. Like, business owners, they feel like they're tied their worth to their performance.
Very good. Yes, that's a big one. Agree? Oh, 100%. I spend a lot of time unraveling people's self-worth from their career. And if we think of the military, I deal with a lot of military transitions, and you get people retiring. And at what age do you usually retire out of the military? 40-ish, right? It's about when people have a midlife crisis. It's about, I cannot tell you how many times you are not your uniform. You are not your beret color. You are not just a dad or just a mom. I deal with people who have their value and self-worth wrapped up in their home titles. Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I just got divorced and now I have to get a job. And because it's pulling them away, what they perceive is pulling them away from being a good mom and being there for the kids 100% of the time, it's completely crumbling them. But you have to have a breakdown in order to have a breakthrough. And so usually at about 4 or 5 weeks is where we get our breakdown. And it's like, oh my gosh, because when I bring people in, they have these amazing goals, but they're over here. And it's just like in boot camp in the military, we got to break them down to build them up in order to hit the goals that they need to hit. And it's such I'm getting goosebumps right now because it's such a beautiful privilege to be a part of that journey. Because I myself went through it a few years ago, and it completely broke me open into a very different person that I am today. And you can pay me enough to do it again. However, I'm so elated and grateful that I had the honor of going through it. So helping others go through that and step through it, and then being able to admit that there's a problem. Hey, I have anxiety. I need some tools in my toolbox, or I need a therapist, or I need medication. Getting them to the right people.
I was going to say that the other element of that must be, because I feel like only recently, in maybe the last decade or 2 decades, has it been, and yes, we're talking about it because it isn't talked a lot about, but even decades ago, to say that you were dealing with stress, depression, anxiety, you were seen as weak.
Yep.
And I know that especially men in our society, they're told, don't cry. You can't cry. If you can't manage stress well, you're weak. And I think by those of us that can get to the other side and work through that and be vulnerable and say, yes, I struggle with that, it allows others to say, oh, well, maybe I can also acknowledge I have an issue. Because I hope that tide is changing in our world, and maybe you're seeing it with people.
Men cry more with me than women do, believe it or not. And I honestly think it's because it's suppressed. It's suppression. And they've been taught exactly what you just said. And the other thing is, there's two things there. The crying is immediately when they break down, this is therapy. I need a therapist. It's like, well, we can talk about that, but tears doesn't mean you need therapy. Tears mean it's a release. That's all it is tears. And we talk about that. One of the things that I'm trained not to do is hand tissues and try and calm them and suppress it, because that's suppression. Hey, stop crying. Here's some tissue. Yeah. I just sit in the space and let it happen. That's all I do, quietly. And then usually I ask, what was the thought that triggered the tears? Because I want to dig into what that is, because whatever that is either something we can work through from a forward coaching perspective, or it's something that needs to be worked on with a therapist.
Yeah, it's good to reinforce some of those like emotions, like positively, because
yeah.
if not, you'll just help, like you'll just enable them. Also, like, okay, here's a fucking, tissue, bro. Like,
yeah.
Like,
well, Rex, you're a guy. What has been your experience?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you have all of our attention.
Yeah.
Do tell.
So, I mean, I have gone into this before in depth, and I'll just touch on it a little bit. So I was never brought up that way. Like my dad never said like, hey, stop crying, shut up, you're being a little bee. He never did that. He was never like that. I don't know exactly where I learned this. It could have been my upbringing, television, movies. It could have been that type of cultural thing where I learned that, like crying is somewhat weak. Crying equals weakness. And so I don't know exactly where, like I was saying, I don't know exactly where I got it from, but that is how I felt. And in the military, it was like that too. There wasn't a lot of enabling that feeling or that emotion, right? It was more like we can be, happy, or we can be nothing. Like that was the other option in the military. So it wasn't until I got out. It wasn't until I got out, and me and Jess just talked about this a few days ago, when I had a death in the family, and it was my best friend in the whole wide world, whose name was Deputy. He was my dog. He's a German Shepherd. I had him since he was like 7 years. He died suddenly. It wasn't like one of these died of old ages type thing. He just died suddenly, and that's very like traumatic. And that moment, right? I just kind of like released like everything, every tear I'd ever held back, everything I had ever had inside of me, just crying. Because I buried him in my backyard, So with every strike of the shovel into the ground, and it was really like another like emotion, another tear, it wasn't just a tear. Okay. I'm painting this. This was a fucking sad movie. Okay. This was like a war story movie.
Yeah.
Right. It was just like, just tears, just ocean, just coming out of me everywhere. And it was just sad. It was sad. But ever since then, I have like allowed myself, to just, hey, if I gotta fucking cry, so what? I've never really like belting out tears of sadness, because I allowed myself now to do it. It's always like just maybe one, maybe one or two, but it's so relieving and it's so liberating as a man to just be like, hey, I can just allow this to come out of me. I always have this image in my head that helps this. I don't know if you guys ever remember that movie Troy, right? With Brad Pitt. Do you remember that movie? I don't know if you remember this part in the movie where he like destroys his nemesis, right? Hector. He drags his body back to the tent. He goes into the tent, and then like he has this chat with his dad, right? The king. And the king, he's like agrees to give his body back to his dad. And he goes out and he cries. He goes out, like he's just like, I got to go out. He didn't tell anybody, but he went out and he just like, he had to just give that little cry. And then he's done. Now I'm back to, right? That's not just being vulnerable. That's like a vulnerable leader. Like, I've got to let this out. And now let's press. Time to move on.
How did you feel afterwards?
After the movie, or
no, after the you know what I mean, all right?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, so afterwards, it was a little confusing, but I like to try and make sense of all the things that happened to me. I believe in signs. I believe in these like events that happen to you for a reason. So the way I made sense of that event was my buddy kind of allowing me to release who I am, who I was, and those emotions. Like he was like, it's okay. I'm gone now. And this is what I'm giving you. Right. Yeah. So I don't dwell on like being emotional thinking about him. When I think about it, I think about that, and it helps me because I think about it in a positive way. It's like I look back and I'm like, thanks, buddy. Because now I feel truly liberating, truly like free to just be, express any emotion that I have. I'm a fucking spectrum of emotions, and I'm not
That's
scared.
important. So I think a couple things that you just said, though, is one of the things that comes out of my coaching too is people will like, I just cried for no reason. And honestly, that's actually fantastic because we spend so much time trying to intellectualize our emotions. Why am I crying? Why am I angry? Why? How about just feel the feeling? That's important. Right. And then the other thing, to tie it to identity, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. K. His handle is A Healthy Gamer on Instagram. He's a psychiatrist and he specializes in helping men. And one of the things, he was interviewed by a Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. I'm a huge fan of him. And he was talking about trauma, identity. And one of the things he talked about is in order to shift your identity, you have to get into your emotions. So you think of our veterans who are war hardened, right? And they come home and we've suppressed stuff so much that, and we think we're healed. Everything's fine. We're fine. I just saw my buddy get shot right in front of me. We're fine. I'm just going to suppress it. Well, suppression's not healing. And so what happens is when you get home, everything else starts popping off. You start yelling at your wife, you start yelling at your kids or your husband or whatever the case may be. And you're not feeling the feelings. You're not allowing yourself to grieve. And honestly, deep grief is the biggest one that comes up. And I end up getting a lot, and they end up going to therapists as well. I work alongside therapists. And it's, I don't like who I am right now. I don't want to be this person anymore. But they're not in touch with their emotions. They're not able to cry. They're not able to show joy. They're not even, everything's really just kind of coming out as anger because that's the power macho thing. It's not actually feeling the whole spectrum of emotions. And I love what you just said about that, because now you can feel it all and you're dancing with all of it. And if you want to change who you are, that's where it begins. And it's a beautiful podcast. You should listen to it sometime because he gets into, it's like a 2-hour podcast and they separate it out. And he talks about all different ways and methodologies to start getting in touch with that.
Yeah, I think that because I really like to teach about modern masculinity. I'm calling it modern masculinity because I think hopefully when I reframe it and we rename it, it can be something that we can utilize. And it really is about strength. Masculinity is strength. It's not man, it's not woman, it's not female, nothing. It's just strength. And if you really think about it, right, if you take me, for example, now, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. It takes true strength to be who you are, to express all those emotions. If you think about those, about individuals, I'm not just going to call it men or women. Let's just say people in general. They're like, I don't want to cry in front of this person or that person. Well, that's not being strong. Okay. Right. Be strong, be who you are, and release whatever you've got to release. We all just need to normalize freaking emotions, man. Like, so what? A tear doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger to be able to do that when and whenever you want.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say that you nailed it in Haley's humble opinion. And women of a specific caliber, like we want men who can provide physical and emotional safety. Well, physical safety is usually fairly easy. Emotional safety is where a lot of men get kind of stuck. And what I mean by that is I need to feel safe enough as a woman to fall apart in front of you. And if you don't know your depth and breadth of your own emotional spectrum and you can't cry, I don't feel safe that you'll be able to handle my tears. And that, I think, I love what you just said about that in regards to masculinity, because men that cry tend to be safe for other women or for women to be able to cry in front of them. So I love what you just said. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Because you can be empathetic, truly empathetic that way. You're like, oh, like I get it, man. I get it. Go for it, man. Do it. Let it out.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it like that. Yes, it's an empathetic response. That, man, you're teaching me things today. Look at you go.
Jess, what were you going to say?
Yeah, Jess, sorry.
No, you're fine. There's also the physical aspect of it. Like and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 3 types of tears that like release chemicals in the brain. So the saying, have a good cry, you'll feel better. You physically can calm down after a panic attack because you've literally released chemicals in the brain that are soothing the body and giving you a physical reaction to it, which I don't think that people understand, that stress, mental illness can take a horrible physical toll on the body.
Yeah. And you're getting in. I love what you're getting into there, because you're starting to get into more of the somatic piece of it. And it's so funny. I don't know if you guys have this experience. I live in Colorado. So whenever someone is going through a divorce, a death, or something traumatic, they all become hikers. All of a sudden they're hiking every damn mountain in Colorado. They're up there on their 14ers. And like, these are people that you're like, you never left the house before. Like, are you okay? It's, and they're getting the best shape of their life. But what's funny to me, and I would love for a PhD to do a study on this, is from a somatic piece. A lot of people get into dance. I used to country swing dance competitively when I was at the lowest part of my life. And once I started healing and getting out of it, I didn't really feel the need to go do that anymore. Now I, weightlift and run and everything else. But I don't know if you guys have heard of EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. We talked about that. And EMDR is a beautiful thing. And it was the concept behind it is bilateral stimulation. So your eyes are moving back and forth, or you have, headphones on and there's a finger snap going back and forth, or you have hand buzzers. And the thought behind it, it's not even the thought, this has been research-based, it's one of the top three modalities that are used to treat trauma, is that it mimics your REM sleep. So during REM sleep, your eyes are moving back and forth and you're processing memories, right? And so they believe that trauma and the loop of trauma keeps your brain from putting things where they need to be. And so if you think of movement, like you were just talking about, and dance and hiking and everything else, it's bilateral stimulation. And that good cry and starting to add movement to it and moving through that really starts to become a healing modality for a lot of people.
And if you have something to hold while you're
Is that a shark? I love it.
Is a fuzzy shark. I wonder why it's fuzzy. Why is it fuzzy, Jess?
From Jess.
Yes. Well, because it's based on the theory of biophilia, that we're naturally drawn to things based on how they look. So if sharks were cute and fuzzy, would we think about them differently?
Mm-hmm. I just
That's why everyone's getting pet raccoons. That's why.
I don't have to feed this one. Only feeds off of my tears.
I'm gonna steal that.
It is.
The tears. Love it.
Possums and raccoons and everything else that's fuzzy and dangerous. Everyone wants to make it a pet now.
I know. All you see are the teeth. So you're like, oh, murder it. And it's like, no, hold on. We all have teeth. Relax. We dogs have teeth. So that
actually, if we love it enough, it'll like us.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So real quick, does anyone? We're getting off track so easily. We're getting off track here. We should have made.
But it only took 32 minutes. I think we did really well.
We did
it's already 30 minutes long. Gosh darn it! I literally got to bullet 1. This is the first bullet. So we were talking about identity, right? Identity in business and mental health. I wanted to ask you both a question because this is right in line. So have you ever felt this way about, like, if the business is struggling, then I must be failing? Does that sound familiar?
Oh yeah.
Right? That's like we're identifying as our business.
Because our reputation is tied to it.
It's tied to it instead of this is a role I'm playing and this is me. This is who I am. Because you know what? As me and Jess go through our past episodes, we talk a lot about branding. And branding is a lot about who we are. So I can see where the line gets a little fuzzy, gets gray. It gets fuzzy. The line between, like, I am my business and, my business is a role I'm playing. So let's go into a little bit about that. How have any of you ever, you have been through it. I know you just said but how have you, or are you still trying to, like, discern yourself between who you are and your business?
I think this goes back to authenticity, and what I love about my business is I can show up as I am, and that's my company. And then if it fails tomorrow, I know that I'm not failing. It's kind of, and I'm glad you brought this up, because this is the first time I've talked about this. So this is fresh off the press here. I've been really dancing with, is Rise kind of my next level? Like, is this, I've done so well. We were best of the springs for business coaching, made gold for human resources. We're doing all these really great things. And I sat back. This was about beginning of January when I started doing all my goals for the year. It was like, what's next? And I just kind of had this blank moment. And I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do in the next year. And in the moment, I was like, I literally asked, does that make me a failure if my business doesn't move up? And it was such an unequivocal no. It felt so good. But if you'd asked me that a year ago, I'd have probably been like, oh my gosh, my company's failing because I don't feel like doing this or whatever, or I don't know what to do next, right? And I think it's the beauty of running a business like you and I run, is that it's kind of moldable. I think it's a little more malleable than most businesses. Like if you own a restaurant, it's pretty black and white. Whereas in coaching, we can kind of dance with different things. Yeah. I will tell you though, at work in my day job with NASA, today was a dumpster fire of delight. And I literally, my mood, we use mood elevators at Leidos, and I love it. My mood elevator was through the roof. I was in a great mood, even though I was literally sitting in the flames. And maybe that's a trauma response from childhood trauma, where like when everything's in flames, that's the only time we feel calm. I don't know. But when I was failing, or I felt like I was failing today in some moments, because I just felt like I wasn't responsive enough to the managers that report up to me on my team. And one of my managers just starts cracking jokes at me, making fun of me. And that put me in an instant good mood. And I actually shared with him, I was like, I feel like I'm failing today. He's like, you're doing great. You're doing fine. Just keep going. So like, they're my biggest cheerleaders, which I can't, gosh, I love every one of them. But I think I feel that more in my day job than I do with Rise. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
Oh, what about you, Jess? You ever feel that way? Like,
It's actually a daily, I don't want to say a daily battle, but a daily check-in for me. So my background is not military, it's art school. And when you go to art school, one of the things that they definitely drill into you, or that you should try to learn while you're there, is that you are not your art. Because it's 5 years. I mean, when I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art, it was a 5-year program. Now it's 4. But that was 5 years of creating something that is your heart and your soul and your idea, and then you're putting it out there for people to critique and judge and tell you, is it good? Is it a piece of shit? Why they don't like it? And you have to learn. They're not saying that you're a piece of crap. They might not like what you've created, and it's subjective.
Whoa, dude,
that is heavy.
She's not even the coach, bro.
I know.
I'm learning something from her.
I have so many questions. Keep going.
So now that I have 3 companies based on creating art, essentially, and design, if I send a client a logo, a business card, packaging design, if they don't like it or they critique it, it's constantly, I've gotten very good at reminding myself, they're not critiquing you, Jess. This isn't a statement on your character, your personality, your decisions in life. It's literally, maybe they don't like the color or they don't like the font, and that's okay. 2 + 2 is 4. Art is emotional. Design is emotional. So I often am like a counselor. Like, I was at a client's office the other day, and he looked at me, he's like, do you feel like you're doing marriage counseling right now? Because they both had different opinions on doing marketing strategies. And I was sitting in the corner of the room, addressing both of them, talking them through the process. So it is, and I have to constantly remind myself that yes, what I create and send to someone, it's not a reflection of who I am. It's just design.
Yo, I just developed a neural pathway today right here on this show. I love that analogy. I'm using it. I'm using that analogy.
You can take it.
Too, right?
How do you check in? You say you check in daily. How do you check in?
I guess I've programmed my brain, like, honestly, just before we got on this call, an email came through from a client, and they completely did not like what we did, and they created their own graphic to show me what they wanted. And instead of being upset that what I had created, because what I created, it was awful. I did what they wanted me to do. It was terrible. But often you have to see what you don't like, because people visually, when you're dealing with design and art, people can see what's in their mind, but maybe they can't articulate it. So you have to do something to then say, okay, let's move things around. So in that moment, it's like, okay, it's design. It's fine. That's great. So I responded and I said, thank you so much for sending that, because now I can understand what you're seeing in your mind, and I can do a better job at articulating or creating what you want. And so literally it's every email, every project I send, instead of being, Jess, you're a piece of shit, which is very easy to do.
Very easy to say. Yep.
It's no, okay, they have a different opinion. That's fine. We'll work through it.
Yeah. They saved you time by sending you stuff already. I mean, that's beautiful.
Right. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it all the time, because sometimes I'm like, are we seriously? But it's because I'm not perfect, but I feel like I've gotten better with it over the years.
Wow, that's awesome. No, that's something. I learned something today too.
That's a good, I love that art analogy, because that's so true. And that's a really good way to keep yourself in check on, like, checks and balances. Like, oh, this is not, my business is not me.
Yep.
It is basically something that you're creating, and maybe it's just not hitting, or maybe the timing's off, or maybe, like you said, a color or design or something about a post or something. It's just not on, and you just have to readjust it. It's not you.
No.
Yeah. Have any of you all ever been like the one who always figures it out?
It's been my whole life, I think. I was a foster child, and like literally that was kind of, I think that's where I had, as a child of an alcoholic too, something we deal with is control. We have to be in control. Like, we become very controlling adults. And I think one of the things I've had to learn was relinquishing control. And part of knowing it all is that's a control tactic. I have to know everything, so I'm in control of the thing, whatever the thing is. And learning to create space and just be, and relinquishing control has been something I've done for the better half of the past 20 years, learning to do. I still suck at it, if I'm being direct and honest on it. But I definitely got a lot more tools in my tool belt for it. So yeah.
Yeah, it can really be a prison when life really hits hard and you can't figure it out. And you're like, okay, I've created this as a part of my identity now. Like, I'm the one who figures things out. I can't figure it out. Now I'm a failure. Yeah. It's like, hold on a second. You're not that. Maybe this is the one thing that you can't figure out. And maybe we reach out to someone else.
Flick the booger to other people. I mean, totally agree with you.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah. Here you
go. What about the lone wolf conditioning, right? A lot of founders out there, solopreneurs, right? They live alone, die alone, right? They build alone and they stay alone. So they don't know how to ask for help because they've never really practiced it. I'm a pro at this, and not in a good way.
Yes.
I am slowly practicing, learning, and this is good because I've had people like Jess in my tribe now. I'm learning to like reach out and say, hey, I need you. I need you. And she has been there. And I really appreciate that. It's really good having somebody in your corner, because without it, those other issues, mental health issues, can come and creep up, like anxiety. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. That, prove it or lose it. Because then that other thing comes in where I'm not the guy. I thought it was the guy. I'm not the guy anymore.
Well, I think also being self-aware of that. So when it starts to pop, it's, do I have too much on my plate? And that's a reassessment I've just recently done, because when you start to feel like you're failing, you're out of control and all this other stuff, anxiety, control, temper, everything starts to pop off. The snowball. And you start to, so again, something I teach clients is, okay, so in those moments, those triggers, it's time to go inward and do a self-assessment. And for me personally, I'm gonna speak for myself here, is when I look at my plate as a whole, and I'm like, what brings me joy? That's first and foremost. And if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And that is something, because as a people pleaser, I'm going to tell you, former recovering people pleaser, I'm not even going to say former, people, like, they ask for help. And of course it's like, yeah, how can I support you? How can I, let me take that on. Like, let me take that on. All of a sudden you're looking at all these deadlines and you're like, I'm going to bed. Like, I can't do any of this. And being able to go through, and what I'm working on personally right now is the no up front. I appreciate you thinking of me, and I feel you asking for help. However, I can't take that on right now. And setting those boundaries that are very clear, concise, and very black and white, and then honoring them when that person comes back and tries to go, but can you? And I've gotten really good at the boundary setting, but I need to be more upfront in the beginning. Yeah.
I love that's really great advice. I love giving people that feel good sandwich, but instead, like, it was awesome. Like, thank you, like, for thinking about me, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Oh,
I can't. Thanks for I can't, but
well, it becomes more terse the more so people who don't respect it. Well, especially, there have been people in my life that are so used to me saying yes that when I tell them no, it's like, and you get the attitude and everything else. And that would, like, back in the day, my anxiety would flare. Now I just sit in the space and let them have a tantrum.
Yeah.
And then as they're falling apart, well, why can't you, whatever, it's like, I said no. Thank you.
Because I think that's another way that we attach that identity to the yes person, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one too. And what about fear of losing control? When leaders think that they, like, admit that they're overwhelmed, that people are going to think, okay, this person doesn't, have control anymore. Now it's because, people are always challenging. When you're in charge, don't you know that, like, everyone always, I can do a job. I can do it. I can do it. It's okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it. My managers don't say that to me. Usually I get a hungry manager, and it's like, they'll come in guns a-blazing. I've had this in the past. I have not had this in Asset. I cannot emphasize enough that my peer group, my leaders, is phenomenal. But in the past, I've had someone where I come in and they got passed over for the VP role that I ended up taking. And so they are out to prove themselves and get you out of that role and show they can do it. And it's amazing. In the past, I'd come in like this, go, no, this person's got to go. And honestly, success looks like, how do you create a relationship with that person and understand what need internally is not getting fulfilled, and then overturning that. And so I've had in the past where, I've had to turn people that were like that. But as far as losing control, not so much. I would say coming in, and I don't see asking for help as losing control. And maybe investors and executives think that. I haven't had that experience as an executive. So when I think of losing control, I think of someone who's emotionally volatile. That's what I think of when I hear that.
But we can imagine that other people are going through that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, I'm going to lose control here, or somebody's going to try and take my gun in for my job.
It's interesting because, honestly, when you think about it, it's a false sense of control. Like, you literally
no control.
You have no control. You can't control.
You just nailed it. I love it.
Anything. So it's really just a lie in your head.
Yep. Yeah. I love that question for clients. What do you have control of right now? Well, I have control of my team, and I have control of the projects, and I said, really? What happens when so-and-so up and quits? And we had someone resign today on program, phenomenal employee, going to a way, but we're all jealous. Like, us managers, like, you want to take us with you, and just joking with him. And I had a conversation of, because it kind of puts us in a pickle, which is fine. And we plan for these things, but it kind of came out of, we really don't have control over anybody. We have control over ourselves. That's it, period, full stop. And it was very enlightening, actually, that happened today.
Love that, because I was just having a conversation with someone last night, one of my best friends. She's going to school for yoga instructor school, and she's working on the phase of releasing control over the outcome. And it's
Yes.
like, okay, I need to do that too. Can I piggyback on this course? Because
welcome to
you can
coaching. Welcome to coaching.
right?
That's what we do. Hey, you know, you get asked a lot of powerful questions and they make the decisions to do what they want to do. I have people that like to try, I call them ask holes, right? They ask for advice and they never follow it, right? We get those too. But I've learned to really, I mean, I'm sure Rex can talk about this too. We relinquish control of the outcome. People are going to do what they do. And then I think the harder part, though, that I love that you're talking about this is practicing it in our own life. Like, oh my gosh, if my daughter does something crazy, that's not a reflection of me, right? It's a reflection of her decisions and choices as an adult. And we've all done crazy things and learned hard lessons as an example. Our children, I think that's one that I'm really struggling with, this children. And that control and okay, they're adults now. What does that look like? And it's not a reflection of me, and relinquishing that type of control in the outcome. I love it. What else has she taught? What else have you learned from that? Like, does she have any words of wisdom? Because you have all my attention now.
Well, she started the conversation with, I'm working on detachment, or I'm doing detachment. I was like, what are we breaking up our friendship? What do you mean? Are you detaching from me? She's like, no. And she like spit out her tea. She said, no, it's detachment of the outcome. Yeah. And because in business, you know, she's like my right-hand person for Sharkapalooza. And just like in business or in life, you can do everything right, but the outcome still doesn't give you what you needed or what you wanted. Right. And that, I think, is a difficult thing. Like you said, children, you know, that's like a human business. You know, you birth them and you do your best, but you can't
whatever
control.
happens. Yeah. There's some freedom in that, and knowing that, and really believing that, look, I'm going to try and adjust, but if whatever happens, it's going to happen.
Yeah. I've gotten to a place where actually I love their mistakes. As long as it's not like life altering, don't do anything really stupid. But luckily it hasn't been. But I think some of it, like some of my greatest conversations with my 16-year-old, like yesterday, and his dad and I co-parent exceptionally well. Like, he's got I couldn't have chosen a better dad for him. We've been divorced like 13 years now. And his dad and I were talking about some stuff, and he made some poor decisions at school, and he lost his ability to drive the car. And he texted me, and he's like, I'm getting in trouble for this and this, and I'm playing victim, right? So rather than come down strong, what are you learning from this? How do you learn that being a victim is going to keep you in that victim mentality, and you're not going to step into who you need to become? And we actually talked about, what is being a man? What does that look like? How do we take responsibility? That's what being adults look like. How do we own our behaviors and choose differently next time? And some of it, I'm not gonna lie, some of it I think went over his head a little bit, but just asking what he's learning from it and seeing the victim mode, and really, I'm like, in my head, I'm going, okay, I kind of see the challenge now. You go from, how do we say this? Small kids, small problems, big kids, big problems. And I'm being forced as an adult to really dig deep on who I am and my coaching skills and everything else to turn out a human that's going to be productive in society. I'm just going to tell you, it is not an easy job. My oldest is 21. She, for the most part, has her crap together. But we did this with her too. And yeah, it's relinquishing the outcome, man. I tell you what, that is something I've got to get better at.
Yeah, I think so. Let's roll into, since we are like rolling into like the freaking top of the hour here. So
I called it.
Yeah,
I said it was going to prove fine.
Yeah. Let's go over some tactical ways, and we have kind of sort of been sprinkling some tactical ways to support yourself and your team with like the identity thing. Jess, I can't believe that you freaking threw a bomb at us. That's awesome, dude. Like, oh my gosh, your life, your output is like painting, like a picture, like some type of art where it's not you, it's what you perceive or what you're making, and it's over. It's almost like it's over there. That's not you. That's something else that you kind of put some emotion, you put some other things in there, but it's not who you are. I love that analogy. So I'm gonna add to that another tactical way to support yourself and your team. And then I'll mention it, and then I'll throw it to you. What do you think about this? So what do you think about, okay, naming the load? Okay, how about this? You can't lead what you won't acknowledge.
Yeah.
Naming it. So like, I would encourage people to identify the mental load that they're carrying.
Well, if you can name it, you can tame it, right? So
right, like decision fatigue, which is an episode we have coming out soon also. So like, if you name it, if you like decision fatigue, now you know what it is, instead of just like, oh, it's just a mental health thing. It's like, I'm going through all kinds of stuff. Well, what's the stuff? What are you going through? Let's talk about it, right?
Yeah, lumping everything in the bucket of I'm stressed is not helpful. That's too big of a bucket.
No, I've noticed too, employees that tend to overwork, like they're doing all this other work. And when you ask them, like, I'm so busy, I'm so stressed, it's because they're not naming their stuff on their plate that's invisible. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So they don't, so I'm seeing it, and I started to dig in, and this is old Haley, very black and white, I want to control. So I come in and be like, well, what is it? What's the thing? And when they're not naming it, and there's like I've learned to play in the gray. I'm not black and white anymore. I've learned to play in the gray. So when they're not naming it, I'll start to kind of go into normalizing mental health conversations without oversharing, I think is kind of how I describe it. And it's like, what's going on in your, like, what's going on at home, or, how's life in general? And so I will share stuff in my life that's obviously without oversharing, but like stuff that's going on in my life that's causing me stress. My teenage son, did A, B, C, and D. And if I know they have children, obviously I can make a connection there. And so they not only start to see me as human, but then it opens the door to have a different discussion. And it's not just the black and white work, it's I'm really struggling at home right now because we had this bill come due that I wasn't prepared for, and my husband's on my ass, or my wife's on my ass. And then we're able to go, hey, you know what? I know what that's like. And just being able to just kind of verbalize the stuff enables them to feel like they have more control over the thing, whatever it is.
Yeah, if you can name it, that if you name what the stress, exactly the stress is, you may then be able to follow that stress down to maybe it's a pattern, maybe it's a special thing that you're doing. And then we can kind of start changing some patterns of behavior to relieve some of that stress. Like, for example, I used to be a smoker. And guess what? I called myself a smoker. So now I'm enabling the behavior. That's one way I was enabling it, but I was like calling myself a smoker. So by doing that, I'm like, you know what? That's when I wanted to quit. I was like, okay, Rex, this is going to be one of the things I have to do is I'm going to have to stop doing things like calling myself a smoker, right? So I stopped doing that. And there's a bunch of other things, but once you start kind of evaluating yourself and naming the stress, now it has a name. Now I know what to fight or what to attack or what to change. Because like Jess said, if you just, I'm just stressed. Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you going to combat that? How are you going to tactically combat stress if you don't know what the stress is? You just stressed, Yeah. So another way I think we can, how about this? Building a 2-person team. Right? Every leader needs one person who knows the truth, right? A coach, a peer, a mentor, not for therapy. It's for clarity, right?
Yeah. It's not a luxury. It's infrastructure. It's part of your infrastructure that you're building. Absolutely.
Yes. Since I built my tribe, it continues to build more and more. And when that happens, it is actually relieving some of the named stress that I have on myself now. It's like, like Jess, for example, since she's here, she's one of my tribe. And, I'm like, oh gosh, because we have this show that we started and it's not all on me. She does. And at first I was like, I'm going to take it all on. And then she offered, and I was like such a relief having a 2-person team to say, even if she didn't like take on anything, her just saying that was so relieving. So as a team, being able to rely on somebody is, I think, a huge relief to be able to build that tribe, that team that you can rely on other people. Like, wouldn't you say that you've got a good team on your hands, Jess?
Oh, yes. I have a core group of individuals, and a lot of them aren't local to me, but I know I can call them and say, hey, this XYZ is going on. And they're like, okay, I hear you, and can have a conversation, and I can be human and be Jess, and they're not going to judge me. They're not going to think differently of me. And that's important. Because then maybe I have a cry, maybe I don't know, eat some gummy bears, and then I rally and I go back out and kick more ass.
Yes. Another way I think is to create a pressure protocol, right? A simple, repeatable plan for when it starts getting overwhelming, like step away. That also really, really has helped me and has helped some like my clients as well. Say, hey, why don't you just step away, assess the situation, identify the real threat, make one decision and communicate that clearly. Like, this is a framework. This is a system. Because when you have a system, it's not people that fail. It's the systems that you have in place that fail. So when you have like these protocols, like, and then you identify, wait, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? I had this real quick story. I had was running, I'm not going to mention names, but I was starting a business relationship with a couple of individuals. And every time that I had to speak with them, it was like fight or flight. Fight or flight, right?
Nervous system response.
Right. And I'm like, Rex, why do you want to start a relationship, even a business relationship with someone when you feel that way? That doesn't make any sense, because every time you'd have to deal with them, it's like, okay, what's the new bullshit? What are we going to deal with? What are we going to do? And I started to evaluate that, and I was like, I know not every relationship's going to be the same, but the business relationship that I have. Are you over here, Jess? Or are you over there?
Oh, I'm right there.
Right there? Yeah. Well, the business relationship that me and Jess have, it's like, you know what I mean? Like what you said earlier, Haley, it's a fuck yeah, right? When you feel that fuck yes, and we're all adults here, so we can say that. when you feel that, it's like, yes. But when you feel that fight or flight thing, it's like, that's a red flag. Maybe you should pay attention to it and maybe disconnect or reevaluate that relationship, because that's also going to be identifying a stressor in your life, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing when your phone rings and you're like, oh, that's a taker. That's a taker. That's a relationship you need to manage. Okay. When it's finally, and you get excited and you hope that you're that person to them as well. Because you don't want to cause them anxiety or anything like that. But totally agree. You got to set the boundaries around them for sure.
Well, I think it's interesting that people put, and I obviously money's on the line because when it's business, relationships are different. But because Rex and I had a conversation about that situation, and I feel like I said to you, Rex, if this were a friendship or like a romantic situation, that's a red flag. You would have bounced already. Yeah. But because it's business, you hang in there, and often people hang in too long where it becomes incredibly toxic, and then it affects other clients or other business relationships, and it's really at that point not worth it.
Yeah. That's actually a tactical point right there, is being in touch with, again, self-awareness and being in touch with who you are, that when the relationship is done. And we aren't good at that as humans, because we don't want to be the bad guy. We don't want to end things because it always feels like it's going to be dramatic or sad or whatever, because we get into the emotional piece to it. But like I've stepped away from boards and things like that. My trigger is, how is it impacting my health? That's always a big one. How is it impacting the relationship with what brings me joy? So my family, my personal business, all the different things. Is it, and you said earlier, is it a fuck yes? Is it still a fuck yes? And then if it's not, I start to get into how does it make me feel in general around, do I feel fight or flight when I get an email? Am I like, oh gosh, I got to get this done now? Is it just one more thing? When that stuff starts to happen, it's time to do it lovingly and professionally. And like you just said, stepping away. So the minute I have that feeling, I usually give it 24 to 48 hours. Because sometimes it is made emotionally. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of this crap. And when you're in fight or flight mode, you're not going to be logical. You're in that amygdala hijack. So you're not in a place of logic. And so it usually takes about, and I don't know if you guys have read the book Crucial Conversations, but that is a good one where it actually takes you into the physiological piece of it. And it takes about 24 hours for all that stuff to calm down. In about a day or two, I sit back and I go, do I still feel this way? And if I still feel that way, I will draft the resignation letter, but I won't send it. And I wait another 24 to 48 hours. Do I still feel this way? Then I send it. Yeah. You got to take, I think as a society, we're so quick to I need to make the decision. It needs to happen now. And yes, I'm pissed off, but I don't care. We're going to do it anyway. And then that's what creates the drama and the chaos. If we just learn to be and sit with the feelings and name it and tame it, and then act out of logic instead of emotion, the world would just be a better place overall. Let's just be real.
Yeah. It's just like shopping, like grocery shopping. Okay.
When you're hungry.
Right. Throw it in the basket, wait a few minutes, and then you'll be like, okay, hold on.
You solve so many problems. Why I have so much produce rotting in my fridge? I'm like, gosh, I'm gonna be healthy this week. Cucumber has acquired its own area code in the back of the fridge. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, this is the same. It's the same tactic though. It's like we don't want any like buyer's remorse, right? So like you just said, Haley, throw it in the basket. See how we feel about it tomorrow, because a lot of our emotions get tied in with a lot of decisions. It's like, wait, let's leave our emotions out of these decisions. Wait till the next day. Yep. And that other situation I mentioned, it was the same thing. I was like, I'm not going to respond yet. Let me just wait. Next day, do I still feel the same way? Yeah. Okay. We're done. It's time to walk. Yeah. But yeah, stepping away. Yeah.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
First of all, is everyone good on time? Because we have a few more things that I think we should talk about. Okay. So I'm not going to just end it. Okay. So stepping away, even if it's not like such a definitive step away, walk away, it's more like back up and recess. Let's reassess the situation. That is a huge step in that pressure protocol, because making those decisions, like instant decisions based on emotions, can really lead down a really bad alleyway of decisions.
Relationships in general, right? You get hot-headed, you say stuff. Yep.
You have to identify. It'll help you identify what the real threat is. What's the real threat?
Yep. So something that I teach too is that no response is a response. Yes. And I use that heavily when people are trying to get me emotional because they're angry or upset, or they send me this hot email. And I'll tell you, I'll look at it and be like, F your feelings, right? I have a moment where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I have a moment. And then I walk away. I'll usually go walk on my treadmill or go for a walk, bilateral stimulation, right? And then I come back and I go on a hike, I go hike a 14 or whatever. But then I come back and it's like, is it worth my time? because something as entrepreneurs that we know is our time is worth money. And so if I'm wasting time responding to someone, what value am I getting out of it? Is it a relationship I need to save? Is it someone that's actually purchased or interested in purchasing my services? And I don't take feedback from someone I wouldn't go to for advice either. That's another big one I teach. So like if you've never utilized my services, I cannot tell you how many times I've had some 20-something-year-old person come up to me and be like, "Can I just give you some advice on your business?" And I'm like, "No."
No.
And
that's good.
We just let it sit. No. And the people pleaser in me is screaming at me. And I'm like, "No." And I just sit and watch the blood drain from their face, because what are they going to say to that? And as a society, we're so used to, oh, we need feedback. Oh, yeah, tell me everything. You are 24 years old. You just moved out of your parents' house. You don't work for me. You have not used any of my services. You have no idea what I do in my day job. You've never seen my resume, but you heard that I run a business and want to give me feedback on it. No, thank you. I hope you have a beautiful day. So
yeah, that's another great point right there, is teaching yourself, practice saying no to those little things, because that's a little thing. Imagine when you're kind of complaining like, oh, about yourself, your performance. It's like, why don't I have the strength to do this? It's because you haven't practiced. Okay. We don't rise to the occasion. We fall back on our training. And if you're training yourself to say yes to everything, say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes, guess what's going to happen when the big question comes? You're going to say yes. So practice saying no to those little things. Just like what Haley's saying, just say, hey, I don't really need your feedback. Right? The feel good sandwich. You say, oh no, thanks for offering, but I'm good.
No, I just say no.
Oh, you just like,
that's one I'm not worried about, the feel good sandwich. Feel good sandwich doesn't really work anyway, because people walk away just hearing the good stuff. They don't hear the negative, what they perceive as negative feedback. So I get right to the point. I just flat out tell them, hey, this is an area of improvement, or this is something that this has to be resolved. And then we go into the good stuff as well, but it's not sandwiched by any means. I try to feather it in with everything, so it's more of a well-rounded conversation. So
okay. So what about this? What about redefining strength? What does a strength actually look like? Because I think, like we said, we talked about emotions earlier. Strength is another thing, right? Strength isn't carrying everything. Like, oh, I got to say yes to everything. I got to carry. I got to do everything. That's not strength. Okay. Strength is knowing what to carry and what to delegate and how to delegate.
What do you put in your rucksack? Yeah.
Right.
Is it going to provide value? Is it going to save your butt? Is it going to keep you alive? All this stuff. And that's the strength that you need to. That's what you need to carry on your back. So.
And I think we really need to normalize the conversation. Yeah. The leaders set the tone, right? The leaders at the top, they're the ones who set the tone and set clear communication sessions on this. Like, these are like what meetings should really look like, not those meetings that you can have on an email or a phone or whatever, a text. You could have just texted me this. I came in for this. I wasted an hour for this. But if we talk about, this is like we just mentioned, this is a real issue. Okay. 90%, and that's, Haley was just saying, that's just probably being nice. 90%. It's probably everybody. To be honest, it's probably every single person has to deal with all these things that we were just talking about. And if we have conversations, meetings, real meetings that talk about mental health at work, then your team is going to be comfortable talking about it at talking about not like your medical, like mental health, but I mean like these types of stressors that we're talking about here that could lead to serious mental health disorders, right? If you hide it, they're going to hide it. But if we normalize having a conversation about it, like, how's everybody feeling today? Like, how's the load doing?
With Lidas, we talk about our mood elevator. Like, we start, hey, how's everyone's mood today? Usually I start my one-on-ones, and we say it jokingly because it's kind of funny, but it actually gives phenomenal feedback as to where the person you're about to have maybe a difficult conversation with, where they're at, where their day's been, and all that. I mean, I'll walk into a meeting usually with my peers, and I'm like, guys, I'm not in a good space today, and if you have something difficult, can I ask that you be gentle with me today? And I'm going to be very, very, very mindful to be self-aware. And I promise you, if I'm sassy, it's not because I'm mad at any of you. I've got some deadlines coming. And when I come into a meeting, not even with my peers, with my employees as well, it creates psychological safety. It's like, oh, hey, she's normal like the rest of us. And it also creates psychological safety. When I have my leaders that report to me, we make fun of each other on the calls. Like, I have an employee, a manager that comes in, and he will just come at me in a very respectful, loving way. But he'll make fun of me. Like, if I mess up, I will own it. Hey guys, I messed up on this. And then he'll have some smart ass, sassful response to throw back at me. And we go back and forth. And the team now knows, okay, we can play with our boss a little bit. We can make fun of her sometimes. And then it makes it easier to talk about the hard stuff. because they can then see you as a human being. And so I'm not just black and white and corporate all the time. And I use that term because I've worked at corporate enough where I know I never want to work at corporate again. I'm very much an on program type person because it's more tactical and I can be authentic. And that's what I love about it. So yeah, I think that psychological safety and strength and all of that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, normalizing it. So speaking of talking about the hard things, right? Talking about the hard conversations. And, you know, as a business owner, as a nonprofit builder, as a man, that subject could be very difficult to talk about. And I'm talking about perimenopause.
Oh,
Anybody
yeah.
heard of that? Anybody heard of this?
Such a hot topic right now, especially, since the Department of Health and Human Services took the black label off of estrogen and everything else for cancer. I can't tell you, I mean, Dr. Mary Claire, she's a big one right now, OBGYN. She's all over Instagram. She inspired me to go get myself figured out. And God, I was a mess for years and had no idea what I was going through because every doctor I went to, it's like, you're too young for that. Well, it starts in your 30s, and they just had no idea because they haven't been able to do the research. So yeah, that's definitely a difficult one for men. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
especially male leaders.
It could be if they're not, if they make it uncomfortable, then it can be uncomfortable, right? But we can sit here. I can have a conversation about anything. Let's just be real, and I'm just here to listen. You know, how did it affect you at work? Did it have any real hard impacts at work?
Oh yeah. So I actually went into it about 2021, and a common sign is women divorce their husbands, believe it or not. Estrogen drops, our feel good, people pleasing hormone drops, and we just get tired of men's shit, and we end up divorcing them.
Oh my gosh. Linda's on board here. Hey, Linda, what do you think? Is that accurate? You don't have to say anything. Okay. Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah. Linda's she's a coach also.
Yeah.
And she's a part of my tribe too. So thanks for coming on, Linda. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Linda.
Yeah.
No, so it hit me pretty hard. And actually one of my biggest things I'm passionate about right now. So my estrogen, I'll give you an example, was at 1500, normals around 150-ish range. And so 1500, think about that for a minute. And during perimenopause, our hormones are doing this, but they're wild. They're just all over the place. And it's actually showing why we have weight gain. But anxiety and depression are huge. And I had anxiety and I go into my doctor and she's like, here, just take these meds. And I'm not a meds person. I don't want to take medication. I want to get to the root cause of the problem. So I went to a therapist. And of course, they want to do EMDR and they want to do the therapy things. And okay, cool. No one sent me to a doctor to go get labs done. To go figure out, hey, maybe this is biological. It's really easy for our primary care docs to send people to a therapist, but our therapists are not on board yet with sending people to go get their biology test. What is going on in your physiology right now?
Yeah.
Because for me, leveling all that out, my anxiety, gone. I had a chaotic day and I was in the best mood ever.
This is without goofball pills or anything.
Yeah,
like that, right?
nothing. I mean, if you want to call hormone replacement therapy goofball pills, sure.
No. I'm talking about
leveling me out. I was happy. Yeah. So it causes, I think what really showed me that there was a problem, and maybe this will resonate with a lot of women, is my sleep. I was waking up at 3 a.m. every night. I couldn't fall asleep till about 10 or 11. I was up at 3 a.m. I was getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. And I'm like, something's wrong. I was having anxiety and mood shifts. My energy in general was volatile. I would go into just these phases where I just didn't want to get out of bed. I'm going to be transparent and vulnerable. I was laying in bed and I'm like, why am I here? I've never been depressed my entire life, ever. I've always had anxiety. I'm a strategy person, so I live in the future. So anxious is my way of life. Not anymore, but it used to be. And I just remember laying in bed going, why am I here? And that was a trigger for me to go, it's time to go to a doctor. So I went to my doctor and she drew let's do labs, right? My vitamin D was low. My LDL was high. Well, she told me to take a vitamin D pill and stop eating fast food. I don't eat fast food. I live in the gym. And I was like, no, this isn't right. And if we actually do the research, China just released huge research on, they're calling it an LDL, a cholesterol marker showing perimenopause. That's actually, if you think your hormones are actually made by cholesterol. So if you have free floating in your body, something's wrong. Your vitamin D, one of 700 things that it does is tell the cholesterol to become progesterone, estrogen, or testosterone. And so you start seeing these wild fluctuations. And finally, I found the right doctor. I just went in, I said, I need my sex hormones checked. I need to get leveled out so I can feel like a damn human again. And started following Dr. Mary Claire. I buy all her supplements. It changed my life. And I'm going to tell you, ladies on this call, when you start doing this journey, it sucks for about 4 months until you get leveled out. And then it's like you're in your 20s again.
Oh, so it's not like an instant thing.
No, it
It's going to take
isn't.
some time.
It
Now,
takes time.
Linda just shared for me, it was all about energy levels and sleep cycles whacked.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Brain fog was another one where I walk into a room and I'm like, first of all, it's not for, I forgot what I was in the room for, but I'm like, what room am I in right now? Like, why am I in this place in my house? I was leaving, I lost my phone, God knows how many times. The other thing is that we hear a lot about is what's called frozen shoulder. And then we get very itchy. Like it almost feels like my skin got exceptionally dry. That was a hard one. And then exercise. I completely changed my thought process. And I don't care if there's any male bodybuilders out there. I will never hire a male bodybuilder over the age of 40. And here's why. Because I have a female IFBB pro bodybuilder. She was my coach and she went through menopause and she got onto HRT. So obviously she can't compete anymore because she's on HRT. But how she knew there was a problem was in 1 month, she gained 20 pounds. 1 month. She's like, I didn't change my eating habits, nothing. She's like, I even put myself in a deficit. I couldn't figure out why this weight was going. Well, part of it is estrogen. When it skyrockets, it reproportions our fat. So we get less booty and more belly, essentially. So she ended up finally getting leveled out. I see so many comments coming in because you're too young for brain fog. No, actually, Jeffrey, I'm really not. So anyway, all that happened and she went and got herself leveled out and she's back into fitness shape again. So it really does impact us in those ways. So, and that's another thing that we keep hearing, you're too young. I can tell you how many doctors told me I was too young. I'm 42. My mother was menopausal at 48. I started at 36. So get yourself checked. I can talk about this all day. I'm so sorry.
So that's good. People need to know. Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I was going to say, even before being pre-menopausal, your hormones can be off, because that was my issue. For years. My gynecologist, doctors would say, take the antidepressant, take the anti-anxiety medicine. And it really wasn't until I found a doctor that I was trying to go the holistic approach. And she said, let's get your vitals and all of your hormones tested. No one for over 30 years had ever said that to me. And I thought, why am I? And I personally think that it's a pharmaceutical situation where people make money, they push certain prescriptions, and it was easier to put me on an antidepressant than understand what was really going on in my hormones, because I knew that it was related to my cycle, but then to see the results from the blood test and the hormones to be like, oh, I've been messed up for my whole life.
You're like, wow.
Wow. I mean, I've been on and off antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicine, I think 4 or 5 times in my life. And now working with a doctor on my hormones to realize I'm not crazy, but to feel like every month that you're crazy and you can't sleep and all of those other things. And to think for years, decades, no one had said, well, it could be something else. Maybe you're not depressed. So it's worth, no matter what age you are, to get your hormones tested.
Well, imagine if therapists did that. Like that's something that I really struggle with. When I asked a bunch of therapists, I said, hey, how many of you have clients that found you over the age of 40 that are suffering from anxiety, they brain fog, they feel like they're crazy? Hands went up. Cool. How many of you have had them get their hormones checked? Hands went down.
Zero.
None. Zero. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is you got to look at our insurance too, like the insurance industry. That's how our therapists make money.
Yeah.
If they go get them solved with hormones and rather than sitting, like I literally got my hormones level. I didn't need a therapist anymore. I was like, hey, I don't feel crazy anymore. It's insane. And imagine as an entrepreneur, how does that impact you as a female entrepreneur trying to sit with a client and coach and help them with theirs? And you're like, you're taking notes feverishly because you're like, I know I will forget the next sentence, or I'm going on 4 hours of sleep and I have a strategy session I need to be present for. I mean, it's unreal. And I'm so blessed. Again, I have a male boss nonetheless, and his wife had gone through it. And I said, hey, real talk. And he goes, what's going on? And he used to work with the FBI. He's the easiest man to talk to in the world. And I said, this is what's happening. It's going to be awkward. He goes, it's not awkward. He goes, go get your shit fixed and let me know what you need. I was like, thank you. Thank you so much. So being leaders in that position to create space for it is important as well.
That brings up a very good point though. And Jeffrey, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. But that also, that brings up a pretty good point. So from your perspective, if you are working for, let's say, a male boss or a female boss who is younger, who doesn't understand, like what kind of space would make you feel like not just comfortable, but like okay to speak about this, or like what would you expect from your team?
I want to encourage leaders first and foremost to go educate themselves on it. I actually had some E9s in the Space Force just fly to DC to talk to our leaders in Capitol Hill about menopause and the challenges that female leaders are facing right now in the military even. And I would encourage our leaders to get educated. Like I said, I can't say this enough. Dr. Mary Claire, you just go read her stuff. She pulls it all directly from research from NIH.gov. If you're a research nerd like me, like I literally will go to bed at night watching or reading the National Institute of Health site, like all the research stuff that they're doing. But Dr. Mary Claire has a lot of really good stuff out there that really educates women. But if you're a guy and you want to understand why your wife is so pissed off, that's a good place for you to go as well. And I think the other place to think about, well, I would think it's just like any other difficult conversation. You want to create space for your employees to have that psychological safety, to be able to come to you and say, hey, I'm not feeling okay. But the other side of it is, as an employee, it's your responsibility to get yourself together and get yourself okay. And I think that was why the conversation with my boss went so well. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go to your boss expecting them to fix you.
Fix it,
okay?
right?
Doctors. Okay.
Sir, I need patches. Can you help me out here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most good, really like informed bosses, they should understand it. Like you said, they don't have to fix it, but just understand that it is a thing. It exists, and create a space, right, to have these conversations openly, like you mentioned. Let's just be open about it. Your boss was like, "Hey, get yourself fixed out. It's fine."
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't like, "Go ahead, Jess."
I was gonna say, someone once told me that it's a lot easier to have a awkward or difficult 15-minute conversation than exist for weeks or months in a situation that is awkward or terrible. So
that's twice. Jess, you're really showing up today.
I love it.
Damn, man, you got nuggets, bro. You got ChatGPT over there.
Why aren't you coaching? My goodness.
I've been in therapy and counseling the majority of my life, so I feel like that's where I learned it.
Yeah.
You're a listener. You're a good listener. That's probably what you
well, and we talk about leadership transitions so much in our world that we don't talk about hormonal transitions that much. And I think that it's just as important. It's to me, it's no different than when an employee has a baby, right? When they come back, we expect our women to come back to work at 6 weeks after pushing a bowling ball out of their crotch, and we expect them to be normal. They're completely normal. Everything's fine. Oh, you're nursing, that's fine. You're not sleeping. You have an infant at home. Your hair's falling out because your hormones. You're in pain. You're still kind of trying to heal, and you're trying to nurse and keep another human alive. But by the way, you have a strategy meeting at 12, and we need you to drive change in an entire, 65,000 person organization. Good luck. We need some care here. So.
What is this, Jeffrey? Oh, look at you. Hey, Jeff, you got any questions for us before we wrap things up? You have another appointment. Okay. He's gonna.
Hey, I promise to follow your advice and learn to say yes. Well, and feel free, anyone who wants to check out my stuff, you can go to riseexecutivecoach.com. You can even just book. I do free 30-minute consults for everyone. It's something I do. You don't even need to contract with me, and it's not a sales pitch. Just come hang out with me for 30 minutes with a challenge that you're having, and you're going to leave with some next steps that you're going to come up with. That's the beauty of it. So love it.
Rise. Yeah, Linda. Yeah. Rise. I love it. Yeah. So leaders out there, you don't have to fix this. Okay. You just have to understand it and create a space for conversations that you don't personally experience. You don't have to have gone through everything in your life, right? But you can, Jess, we hate saying this, create a space. To create a safe space.
Be present. Just be present and just be. Let them tell you what's going on.
Yeah, genuinely listen than just hearing.
Yeah.
What Jess has been doing the entire time. Exactly.
She's been listening quietly and then tactically just nailing it. Everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it. I love this. Yes. So I love this all these conversations. I've actually learned myself here on this episode, on this premiere to our season 2 of Tactical Business Coaching. So we went over some possible solutions, right? Naming the load, figuring out like who you are, your identity, and trying to discern yourself from those things like that you think is your identity, like your job, your business, it's not your identity. Even if it's not just for business owners, for people that work, right? Your work is not your identity. It's a role. You're playing a role. And this can go with family too. Dads, moms. This is a role. Okay. This is not who you are. So remember, these are just roles. So you're not a bad like mom, or you're not a bad leader. You just may have outdated systems that are there to support your roles. So remember that. Okay. Building a 2-person team. That's also crucial. You don't have to do everything alone. Okay. You even have people here. You want to check out some more things. Me and Jess, we're doing this tactical business coaching. This is an excellent opportunity for you to just check out what we've got. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. We've got a whole season that is going to be released after the show. We're going to put it up on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. We've got at least 9 other episodes. They're amazing episodes. I sound like Trump. They're amazing. They're the best episodes.
I say words wrong more. I make up more words.
Yes.
It's even rubbed off on Rex. He has done it a few times.
If you want to feel good about your vocabulary, check us out. Okay. We didn't say we know everything. Okay.
We're works in progress.
Yes. Build your tribe. This is something that I'm advocating always. Build a tribe. Build your team. You don't have to do everything on your own. Okay. Redefining strength. That doesn't have to be, I got to do everything done. I got to say, I don't have to say yes to everything. Practice saying no. Practice saying yes. This can help too. Remember, we don't rise. We don't rise to the occasion. We fall back on our training. Even if it's as small as those little baby steps, like just saying no, like Haley said, hey, I don't need your input right now, person. I don't need it. But you don't have to say thank you. I would say, but you don't have to take that route either. Just say no, stop talking to me. And normalize the conversations. We have to normalize all of this, right? Mental health issues, anxiety, stress, whatever we're naming it, normalize it so we can talk about it. Does anybody have any other thoughts, wisdom, closing arguments, or comments about what we talked about today?
I'm so glad we all said yes to doing this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was a gift, and excited to share it with everybody. This is a good conversation. How
does it compare to your first podcast?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We're not talking about that.
No,
this was the best one by far. And I'm so grateful that I got to do this with you guys. You just genuinely good people.
Got it.
And I stuttered, had to hold back. No, but it was I love this. I actually learned a lot today, and I learned more from Jess. The coach is on the call. Like, we learned from Jess today.
Yeah. I love it, Jess.
Well, I'm just very glad that, thank you, but that Rex was able to bring you in, because I feel like I've met another amazing, awesome human being, Haley. And Rex, thank you for saying yes to season 2 and being in my tribe. So
yes. Thank you, Jess. We had a lot of fun recording it. Like, it's a lot of good information, a lot of good intel. Just check it out. It's all out there, complimentary for everyone to just learn about yourself, learn about your business, learn about work, learn about all kinds of stuff. We got a whole lineup coming up. It's going to be awesome. Thank you again, Haley. Thank you, Linda. And who else is on the call here? Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
He may have gotten off, but thanks, Jeff, for signing in. And if you need anything, if you need any anything, no, not anything. Okay. But if you're looking for some tactical business coaching, this is our website right here. Check us out. We consult. Like I said, Jess is a freaking bomb-ass marketing strategist and branding specialist as well. I'm a coach. Or reach out to in the Colorado area or wherever. I'm sure she travels everywhere, right, Haley? Yeah, she's a traveling ex-soldier. Forgot to mention that. You're also a veteran.
I am. Yep. I was in 12 years, 2 deployments, and 90% VA disabled and all the good things. And I do I give back a lot to our veteran community here in Colorado Springs, heavily. A lot of free coaching, a lot of just creating space and allowing them to share their stories and getting them the help that they need. So yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about.
Well, thank you for your service for both of you.
She beat me to it.
Thank you for paying your taxes. All right. We appreciate that.
Thank you. For the longest time, people would say this, thank you for your service. And I had no idea. I had no idea what to say back. Cause I'm like, what do I say? Thank you. That sounds a little presumptuous. Or like, oh, you're welcome. I'm like, that's no. So I mean, I do now, but it's more of a passive aggressive, like way. But no, I always say thank you for your support. It took me like 15 years to figure that response out. Thank you for your support. And it goes very it flows.
I did, but the authenticity in me is thank you for paying your taxes. So.
Yeah. You paid my way all the way through.
There you go.
Thanks, Haley. We appreciate you. We will see you soon. Check us out, Tactical Business Coaching USA. I'm not saying like USA. I'm saying, okay, relax. I'm saying Tactical Business Coaching USA. That's the website. Also check it out, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all of those. We're on all those, Tactical Business Coaching, or check out Haley. Thank you again. We appreciate everything from both of you, and we will see you soon, right? Check out the outro. Boom.